Mercedes just added exactly what F1 feared. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes confirms upgrades to W14 in the upcoming races, which will help in development of W15. Mercedes head of strategy, Rosie Waite, has confirmed that the W14 Challenger will be installed with major upgrades that will help in the development of their future car. Since the start of the season, the Brackley-based outfit has been working on getting their car back to competitive pace. And despite getting closer during the course of the season, it seems that they lack the competitiveness again. However, something better might be in store for the team, according to Waite, who spoke about new upgrades that are planned for the remainder of the season. "We have upgrades in the pipeline and will continue to be bringing them to the car," she said. Waite added that the upgrades will have long-term effects on the team's performance. "There's plenty of things we can do with the current car which will both make it faster and aid our learning and understanding to develop next year's car," she said. "It is apparent that Mercedes have improved in terms of performance from the previous season, where they were at an absolute lack of pace." Lewis Hamilton has been on the podium quite a few times this year. And although this is a sign of improvement, the team is still miles ahead of their target. A lot of data for the W14 was collected during the development of the W13, and the same seems to be the case for the 2024 season's car as well. This will be the 3rd consecutive season for the team's attempt to get back on the top and win championships. As Rosie Waite further mentioned, all the upgrades that will be brought on the car now will be directly related to the development of the W15. "The new parts we bring to the track hopefully add performance and make the current car go faster. But they're all specifically targeted around areas we need to further our understanding, which will directly feed into the development of the W15, she said. But there could be more challenges for the team getting ahead, as it was evident during the Singapore GP earlier. George Russell had difficulty passing Lando Norris, while the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz took to the finish line to win the race, meaning that other teams are developing well as well, which can prove to be yet another obstacle for Mercedes. Footage of Mercedes teammates Lewis Hamilton and George Russell ignoring each other at the end of the Japanese Grand Prix has emerged after their intense duel throughout the race. With no clear number 1 at Mercedes, Toto Wolff has been happy to let their talented driver pairing of Hamilton and Russell battle on track throughout their 2 years together as teammates. In the race prior at Singapore, fans witnessed both Mercedes hunting down Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz ahead in a fight for the win. Unfortunately, with Hamilton pressuring Russell in front, the latter cost himself a podium by crashing out on the final lap, gifting Hamilton a 5th rostrum appearance of the season. In Japan, the duo were once again nose to tail, and some aggressive racing between the two led to an awkward encounter after the race in Parc Fermé. Early on in a battle for 5th place, Russell squeezed past his compatriot into the Turn 16 chicane, before Hamilton repassed him seconds later into Turn 1. 10 laps later, and they were fighting once again. This time, Hamilton's error at the Denier curves allowed Russell to close up to him, but the veteran forced his younger teammate off the circuit in a strong defensive maneuver. With just 5 laps remaining, Russell was defending from the quicker Hamilton, who himself was under threat from Ferrari's Sainz. Mercedes attempted to protect Hamilton, with the British team embroiled in a constructors' battle for 2nd place with their Italian counterparts. After much deliberation, the Mercedes pit wall made the decision to invert their drivers, allowing Hamilton to take 5th place while leaving Russell vulnerable behind. This caused confusion amongst both drivers and only led to further arguments over the radio about the preferred strategy. With Mercedes ultimately losing 5 crucial points to Ferrari at Suzuka, neither Hamilton nor Russell acknowledged each other after exiting their vehicles at the end of the race. In an awkward moment, it seems that the heat in the Mercedes camp may be reaching a crescendo as they finish their season. The second story is Mercedes admits their old concepts are not good enough to beat Red Bull. Mercedes trackside engineering officer Andrew Shovlin recently spoke about how his team will bring drastic changes to their car in 2024. Ever since 2022, the Brackley-based team have been unable to fight for drivers and constructors' championships due to several car-related issues. In the middle of 2023, they finally started ditching some of the old concepts and brought new upgrades. Now they aim to improve even more in the 2024 F1 season. Andrew Shovlin initially stated that Mercedes will not be clinging to old concepts and will be open to change. Whether they will resolve all the issues will depend on the various projects that they are working on next year. We're certainly not clinging on to any concepts that we have had before. We're very open-minded, Shovlin said. We are changing the car quite considerably for next year, but whether or not we can solve all the issues that we've got on the handling will depend on a number of projects delivering. They are underway, and they're not complete. We've got some good directions to try and improve that. Shovlin assured that Mercedes have planned loads of changes for their 2024 F1 car. However, it is too early to say whether these changes will work as intended. The car will be different. We've made a lot of changes to it, but it's very early in the development of a new car to be able to say, we've got it sorted. When we launched our best cars in 2015 or 2019, those years, we didn't know that they were going to be great cars when we developed them, he said. F1 pundit Peter Windsor feels Lewis Hamilton would have always wanted Valtteri Bottas to be his teammate at Mercedes. This was primarily due to the balance Bottas would have created by being the second driver, much like Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in Red Bull. Hamilton has also mentioned that Bottas was his favorite teammate in his entire F1 career. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Peter Windsor said, Lewis always wanted to keep Valtteri, not necessarily because he loved Valtteri, but because it was the right balance of the team. He could feel that. That was the same as Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. It came to the surface more than ever before, I think, in the Japanese Grand Prix. After a disappointing Japanese Grand Prix weekend, where Mercedes found itself appearing to have only the fourth quickest car, it is aware of just how far ahead Red Bull remains right now. And Hamilton, who has been pushing hard for Mercedes to totally revamp its concept approach, says that there should be no shying away from accepting the size of the gap that needs to be closed before the start of the 2024 season. I have no idea where the car is going to be next year, but we're a long, long way away, he told Sky. We've got to hope for the next 6 months to be the greatest 6 months of development that we've ever had to close that gap and to be really banging on the door. While the time gap to the front looks sizable, Hamilton thinks that the example of McLaren, which changed car approach to help it emerge as Red Bull's main rival now, is proof of the leap that his team can make. The evidence is there at McLaren, and we can't turn a blind eye to that, to look at what they've done and go in that direction, he said. That is the direction. But I truly believe my team can do it, and we've always been great at putting downforce on the car. It's just that, with the way our car currently works, adding downforce doesn't work. It just makes it bounce more. Hopefully, with a change in philosophy, we'll be back to where the team deserves, because this is a world championship team. We still are an amazing team. I have absolute faith in everyone, but decisions that are made in this period of time are critical for our trajectory. 12 months ago, Mercedes began to make progress with its W13 car, and that culminated in it taking victory at the Brazilian Grand Prix. One consequence of that triumph was it left the squad convinced that it was on the right development path with its concept, so it stuck to its guns for 2023. That proved to be a mistake, especially with the team pitching its aero platform around too high a ride height. This left it unable to make hoped-for gains. Hamilton said just fighting for good points positions now was hard work, but it was important to do to help the team's constructors' championship efforts. I'm giving absolutely everything, but it's tough on weekends like this, particularly where the car is such a handful, he said. Basically, it's the exact same as last year. Feeling-wise, the car felt just the same as last year. It's bouncing and sliding, so that's tough given how much work we've done to progress, and we're not any closer to the front, at least here. The third story is Mercedes support their controversial move on Russell and Hamilton. Mercedes' trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin has defended the Silver Arrows team orders that saw George Russell allow Lewis Hamilton to overtake him at the Japanese Grand Prix. With 8 laps to go in Suzuka, Hamilton closed in on Russell on 10-lap fresher tires. Having already battled throughout the race, this time Mercedes were keen to avoid a potential disaster in the dying stages. The order was therefore given, much to Russell's annoyance, that he should let Hamilton through in an attempt to keep Carlos Sainz at bay. The man from Kings Lynn questioned whether the team should invert on the last lap before the foot came down in the Mercedes garage, with Russell allowing his 7-time world champion teammate through. With the Singapore Grand Prix fresh in the mind, some reminisce to how Sainz expertly allowed Lando Norris to stay within DRS range to aid his defense against Mercedes in the final laps at the Marina Bay Street circuit. The questions then came wondering why Mercedes did not use the same trick at Suzuka. Yet Chauvelin is adamant that on a track that did not especially suit the W14, they still made the right call. "We made some changes ahead of FP2 and gathered some useful learnings," he told Mercedes' in-house media. "But we're clearly not strong enough in the faster corners." "It was a difficult strategy to pull off, but George did a great job," he added. "Given the tire degradation, we had to protect Lewis from losing the position as he was more likely to finish ahead. Therefore, instructions were given to invert the cars." In the end, Sainz breezed past Russell but could not overtake Hamilton, as the Mercedes pair went on to claim 5th and 7th respectively either side of the Spaniard. Former F1 driver Anthony Davidson has explained why Mercedes have to do double the work to beat Red Bull next year, backing up Lewis Hamilton's recent comments.